How about another
Silver bullet?
another pint?
Yeah, if you look at the glasses on that fucking bottle there,
Oh, yeah.
they're yours.
That's right.
All right.
Wait a minute. This says this is a pint, and that other big-ass beer, that's got to be way more than a pint.
The other big-ass beer is way more than a pint, I think. That was, what, 16 ounces?
Yeah, this one is. This
That's
is
a pint.
What the fuck was that one? Like 2 quarts?
I think that was a double. Was it 24 ounce?
I don't know.
Well, wherever it was. Here, pull this vodka, please. Help me out.
New Amsterdam. We're fucking keeping this place open.
Fucking right. I've been keeping them open for fucking 5 years, dude.
5 times distilled. All right.
Yeah, so it's 5 o'clock vodka, and it don't taste like that. Ugh.
I got the spirit in me.
Jesus, why did I just think of that band Triumph?
I don't know. Count us off when you're ready.
All right. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Andale.
Hey, everybody. Chadwick Von Tippitt and Joshua 40 the Hard Way Johnson bringing you another episode of One More Last Time. When you count us in like that, Josh, I always think of Wayne's World.
Oh, yes, of course, because I'm not supposed to say 3, 2, 1. I'm just supposed to...
Although, I think it would be the least amount of effective if you stopped talking.
Well,
I think I might miss my cue.
Well, of course, we're not... There's no video. Nobody can see what's going on. You just have to do the 5, 4. And you have to say 5 like from something. 5, as opposed to 5. And what the fuck? All right, so topic for discussion this round is going to revolve around yet another divisive generational cutoff band, and that band is Nirvana. Now, the reason why I think we chose this topic, and this was Chad's topic, I picked Pantera, he picked Nirvana.
Which is weird. Because
very much so.
So I've grown into Nirvana.
Whereas I always loved Nirvana.
See, I didn't.
Sure. And we're going to talk about why that is.
I don't know why I didn't, but so
I know why it was.
When I was a young guitar player,
right,
I actually had the Nevermind guitar book.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know, like that was it. That was as far as I went. I got Nevermind. I listened to it, and I went, "These are cool songs." And then that was it.
Right, and that's very much it pretty well sums up both why Nirvana worked and why so many quote unquote metalheads hated Nirvana. Nirvana, oh my god. Of course, when they came out, they blew up. They changed the world and everything else, but people within the quote-unquote metal community, oh, God, did they hate them. And they hated them for years. If you brought up Nirvana, you just were dealt a barrage of just fucking opposition to them.
Well, in reality, I should have loved them from the start because they killed off cock rock, which I hate.
Right, and that's the whole thing that really was, it felt like a personal attack to a lot of those guys was... Well, Nirvana killed us, but you know what? Nirvana did not kill cock rock. I refuse to believe that because cock rock killed itself. Nirvana just happened to be the lucky band that gave people, you know what? People wanted that at the time. I mean, how many times are you going to watch a recycled version of the Cry Tough video before you go, nobody I know is wearing white spandex. Nobody I know has the time to tease their hair like this. And people are going through other things besides what bitch I'm going to pick up tonight, or am I going to buy a Lamborghini or a Ferrari? These are not real problems.
The excess of the 80s was over.
Reaganomics, all of that. And that's why Nirvana just happened to be the band that came around at the right place at the right time, but would not have made the impact if it weren't for the fact that they fucking wrote great songs. And it was because they figured out how to combine.
So here's a fun music. Here's a musical nerd fact.
Sure.
So Kurt Cobain, I don't know if this was intentional on his part. So like a lot of grunge music is like power chords.
Sure.
And so technically, for a chord to be a chord, it has to have 3 notes. Okay, this is a little nerdy if you follow me. So a chord has to have
How dare you have knowledge?
yeah, it has to have at least 3 notes to be like to have a chord name, right? So what Nirvana did a lot when they were writing their music is like, yeah, it was a power chord, right? But then like Kurt Cobain, Jesus Christ, sang that 3rd note in his melodies and harmonies.
Okay, I did not know that. That's really
pretty cool.
ingenious.
And well, he was. I think he cited the Beatles as one of his big
Are
influences.
you kidding me? They were the first influence to him, and absolutely.
So that's where he got it. That's where he got that from.
Okay, and that makes sense, and that's where I suppose for my part, I can understand the divisiveness, and whereas we talked about this with Pantera, wow. All right, the first sign that I saw personally of the divisiveness happened quite a few years after Nevermind came out. The album that changed the world or whatever the hell. Was going to a show that my high school band was playing with my drummer and his older brother. Now, this guy's older brother probably got more ass than a toilet seat in the fucking early 90s. He was a skinny, tall, good-looking guy who had the mullet and all of this and was very much into the hair metal, glam metal, cock rock, whatever the hell you want to call it. And I remember we stopped at his apartment to have a couple beers before the show, and then we got to the venue and we're waiting to fucking go on or whatever, and the 3 of us are talking. Now, the drummer of my band really looked up to his older brother, and as a result, so did I. This guy's cool. And we were talking about current music or whatever, and keep in mind this is the 90s, and he was saying something to the effect of, he didn't understand Nirvana, and his exact words were, whatever happened to bands with style? And I remember looking at him, and I just said, you ever heard of Nirvana? That's what happened to them. And that's how I felt about it, because it wasn't so much the music, it was the style. It was the difference between a band with a name like Kick Tracy or something like that, or a band like Skid Row who had a frontman who was genetically engineered to be a rock star, who put effort into their appearance. And then he had these 3 guys who were wearing fucking clothes from a thrift shop who didn't wash their hair, but were still commanding audiences. And the reason for that is because it was the songs. The songs were fucking great, but it was also something different from what your older brothers were into. And that's where I noticed the difference, in that it's not as if Smells Like Teen Spirit rocks any harder than fucking Slave to the Grind. It's just the person presenting it didn't spend more time on his hair than on his fucking lyrics. In fact, it was the exact opposite. He spent less time on his lyrics than anything. And that's where the divide happened. All of a sudden you didn't have to look a certain way, or you didn't have to fucking dress yourself a certain way. You could just play the music. But it created its own standard in that if you dared to wash your hair or something like that, all of a sudden you were passé. It really kind of fucked itself in the end. But that was the generational divide. There was the pre-Nirvana and post-Nirvana. There were the Poison fans and there were the Pearl Jam fans. There became very much a distinction and a dividing line, which I, for my part, in my very early teen years, never understood, because I could listen to the local Des Moines radio station and hear Even Flow and think, man, this is a great fucking song, and then hear Jackal and think, this is a great fucking song. I didn't understand that you weren't allowed to like both.
I don't like Pearl Jam.
I don't actively listen to them, but I respect the hell out of them.
Yeah, sure. I never latched on to that.
After 10, I really didn't either, because 10 was a good hard rock record, and then I'll give Pearl Jam credit for doing whatever they want, but I really, truly believe that Eddie Vedder's his principles really took over that band. Because, I mean, if you think about it, you look at Jeff Ament, he was wearing funny hats and all this shit, and they were in Mother Love Bone, which, okay, yeah, Mother Love Bone, the great hope of Seattle, but Andrew Wood was a rock star in the making. I mean, listen to Mother Love Bone, watch their videos, they were rock stars. But as soon as Vedder came in, everything had to be serious. Everything had to have a principle and a point. And good for them. They stuck to their guns, and they're still going. But I see where a lot of fucking 80s rock fans got put off because all of a sudden it's like, you have to have a principle or you're not cool, which just is such a contradiction in terms. Who gives a fuck about what cool is? You know, but everybody got sucked into it. And Nirvana is always going to be the figurehead of that because they were the first and they were the biggest. So where do you go from there, Chad?
Well, where do we go from there? So do you like Bleach?
The album?
Yeah.
To be honest, once again, I hate to blame anybody that I've never met, but if Dave Grohl had been the drummer on that album, I would have loved it a lot more. Chad Channing, you know, no offense to him. Good for him that he was on Bleach. He makes some royalties off it, but he just didn't have the chops that band needed. Dave Grohl was Nirvana's fucking Scud missile, really. If he had not been in that band when Nevermind was released, it would have been Channing playing on it. It wouldn't have made it as big. Period.
I'm trying to think what was on Bleach that I liked. About a Girl.
About a Girl, fucking, let's see, Bleach songs that I actually like. Oh, God, I'm sorry to say
About a
it.
Girl, I guess.
And I don't even particularly like that song. I like the song Floyd the Barber. But
So-
Negative Creep is good.
It's like 2 or 3 out of 11 songs.
Yeah, I mean, the songs weren't that great, but I think if Nirvana hadn't blown up the way they did, people wouldn't give a fuck about Bleach. You know, it was a good album. It wasn't a bad album, you know, and it showed the beginnings of Kurt Cobain as a good songwriter.
Here's a fun fact.
Sure.
Dale Crover played drums on Floyd the Barber, Paper Cuts, and Downer on that record.
That's right, Dale Grover of the
Melvins.
Yep, and that's the whole damn thing. Is where a fun thing to do is look up, or actually even the live album from the Muddy Banks of the Wishkah. Chad Channing was on a couple of those songs. He played on Breed, and you can hear the difference between his drumming and Dave Grohl's drumming. Dave Grohl and Kurt Cobain was smart enough to know that they needed a better drummer because he wanted to get big. He can play the whole I didn't want superstar, and the fuck he didn't. Yeah, he did. This is the guy that used to fucking complain that MTV wasn't playing his videos often enough, who went and fucking made everybody pay back the royalties retroactively from Nevermind. Kurt Cobain wanted stardom, period. And he knew that they weren't going to achieve that with Chad Channing. They needed Dave Grohl. And Dave Grohl fucking one of my favorite drummers. In fact, if I had to put together a perfect hard rock band, not metal band, but hard rock band, it would be Grohl on drums.
I think Dave Grohl would probably agree with you. Look at all the stuff that he himself put together, you know.
Right.
Like Probot and then the Sound City thing.
Yeah. And that's the thing about Dave Grohl. He is rock and roll's eternal nice guy. Even Zakk Wylde, who spent years talking shit about him, eventually worked with him. You kind of have to admit, Dave Grohl's a fucking good guy. Axl Rose, who fucking Dave Grohl taunted from the stage at the VMAs, fucking Axl Rose used his fucking throne on tour. You can't not like Dave Grohl. Period. You can't really talk shit about the guy. And he has the talent to back that up. He was the secret weapon for Nirvana. Nirvana, you know, people could say, oh, we only know about him because of Nirvana. Well, no shit. But does he have the talent to back it up after the fact? You fucking right he does. Yeah, I'm a Dave Grohl fan through and through.
Yeah, a lot of people are. I am. I think he's great.
Right.
Well, I think he's great, but there's very few Foo Fighters things I like.
And that was going to be my next point is, as opposed to fucking kissing the ass of Dave Grohl, I'm not a big Foo Fighters fan. The One by One album is great. You should listen to that.
I probably have. I don't remember.
But that's
I've heard their hits like everybody else.
Right. But that's the whole thing is like Foo Fighters, I'm not going to sit there and just worship at the altar of Foo Fighters. For people to say, oh, they're the greatest, right? No, they're not. They're a good rock band. You fucking right they are. But not great. Period. I mean, honestly, I hate to say it, but if Grohl hadn't come off of Nirvana, Foo Fighters would have been a good band. They would have been a well-liked band.
I think even he himself would say that the first Foo Fighter records was just kind of like a recording project.
It was. I loved the first album. My high school band used to cover "I'll Stick Around," which is a fucking great song. But yeah, back to Nirvana. The Nirvana album that grabbed me, which, hate to sound pedestrian, but it really was Nevermind. And it wasn't any of the hits that I heard. It was the song Breed that got me. Because I remember I was listening to the CD, and yeah, I've heard Smells Like Teen Spirit, In Bloom, which is a great song, Come As You Are, but it was when I heard Breed, that was just, there was a poppiness to it. I mean, there was a hook to it, but God, it was fucking heavy. And not heavy in the Pantera sense, but heavy more in the punk rock sense of, this is just aggressive. This is fucking brilliant, but I can sing this. That was the song that made me a fan of theirs. And that whole album, it's not over-exaggerated to say it's a fucking great album. I mean, from front to back, the album is fucking brilliant, and that's a combination of the production, which Cobain later said that he hated, said it sounded like a Motley Crue record. It was the songs. Cobain could write songs, he could write hooks, he could sing hooks. And Dave Grohl, that drum beat and then his backing vocals, that fucking elevated that band to legendary.
So I guess Breed was written in 1989.
Yeah, and if you hear Chad Channing play it, it's like, yeah, okay, this is fine, but when you hear Grohl play it, holy shit. That's why Dave Grohl was, in my opinion, I could take whatever flack, but Dave Grohl, if not for him, they would not have been as big as they were. They'd have been big, but not legendary. He was the weapon. Period.
I don't know. Yeah, but also I don't know. It's hard to say. I think it's what music needed at the time.
And it very much was. I mean, think about it. Warrant had Cherry Pie out. Firehouse was winning the American Music Awards Best Artist thing. I mean, I'm not going to talk shit about Firehouse because I saw him live and I liked him live. But Jesus Christ, the first time I heard Firehouse, I thought Dennis DeYoung from Styx had a side project. It was just too safe. This was, hey, I like rock and roll, but this isn't going to offend my parents, so let's listen to Firehouse. No, you needed something different, dangerous, dirtier. And that's where Nirvana really did come in.
Yeah, they really changed sort of the dynamic of songwriting, too, because there was the whole loudness and then the softness kind of thing.
Yeah, light and shade.
Yeah.
And they did it brilliantly. And they also... Now, we've spoken during a few different episodes of this about how pissed off we were about the fact that nobody was allowed to play guitar solos. Well, I think nu metal took that too far. You and I both agree with that. But at the same time, you got to think when Nirvana came around, Cobain played solos. They were very simple. But this is also the era of Nitro and Michelangelo with the four-necked guitar. How many fucking notes can you play at once? And I think music fans were looking at this going, I can't possibly do this. And I think people who were just simply listening were saying, this isn't doing anything for me. Yeah, I'm impressed, but, well, as Alice Cooper once said, where's the song? I think Nirvana brought the song back to where you didn't need the bullshit. It needed to happen because the 80s, I don't think Nirvana killed the 80s. I think the 80s killed itself. Nirvana just happened to be the right band that said, okay, here is an, well, alternative. It needed to happen.
What do you think of the lyrics?
I think, okay, I'm going to get heat for this. I don't care. I think Kurt Cobain was probably one of the shittiest lyricists ever. His lyrics made no sense. They were deliberately made to make no sense. They have no point. They're dumb. I fucking love him as a songwriter, love him as a singer, hated him as a lyricist. I thought he was fucking useless.
Really?
Yeah, really. I mean, I'm not going to be pompous enough to say I'm a songwriter, but you know, and I've read through my crap, but the thing is, he influenced me as a lyricist when I was 15 in the wrong way. I would write the most ridiculous, nonsensical shit because Kurt Cobain did it, and that's what alternative needed at the time. But those are the writings I threw out because they were crap.
is it nonsensical, or do you think that he was trying to be like, I'll put a metaphor in everything?
I think he, by his own admission, wrote nonsense. He, like the Bleach album, he wrote the lyrics in the studio. He, by his own admission, would come up with rhyme schemes even if they didn't mean anything. I think the only time his lyrics took meaning was the In Utero album when he was writing about heroin.
You
Then
don't
they
think
meant
anything on
something.
Nevermind had some sort of...
I think Nevermind, which is funny because for as much as Nirvana killed the 80s and singing about chicks or whatever, that whole album was written about a woman named Toby Vale.
What?
Yes. Toby Vale, who, God, was she the drummer? She played in a band called Bikini Kill, and this is where Cobain, very young, is trying to align himself with something. Toby Vale was a pure feminist, the Riot Girl, GRL movement. Very much a feminist, and Cobain had hooked up with her a few times. And as you do when you're young and hooking up with someone that you're quote-unquote in love with, you adopt their views. He adopted feminism, and then she dumped him. So he wrote a whole album about her. Smells Like Teen Spirit came from something that a friend of Toby Vale's wrote, spray painted on his wall. It said, Kurt smells like Teen Spirit. Teen Spirit was a deodorant at the time. He didn't even know that. He just thought it sounded like a cool song. But if you listen to the lyrics, she's overboard and self-assured. He's writing about her.
According to Kurt himself,
Right.
he said the aim of that album's material was to sound like the Knack and Bay City Rollers getting molested by Black Flag and Black Sabbath.
Yeah, and that was Cobain's whole thing. I can identify with Cobain in that he was from fucking Aberdeen, Washington, which is no different than Mason City, Iowa. You're viewed as hicks from anybody from the outside world. And he was taking just these disparate influences and combining them into his own. And he got the national attention, and it worked. And that was the whole thing he was doing. And I think he was probably trying to be funny, take the piss or whatever, but that's exactly what Nirvana was. They were the result of isolation, of a bunch of guys out in the fucking woods in fucking Washington State who only had what they were given. There was a story about how he was living in Olympia, I should say, and he excitedly ran into his neighbor's house saying, "Here, you got to hear this album." And it was The Knack. And he couldn't get enough of The Knack. But then he would listen to Zeppelin 2 all the time. All he was doing was taking all this stuff and combining it into his own. And whereas he would be laughed at behind his back for listening to The Knack, while all of a sudden how many million people later are listening to his hooks, he won. You know? The people he was hanging out with were just absolute fucking pompous assholes. And unfortunately that included Toby Vale. This girl that he'd fallen in love with. Well, she burned him. So in his mind, and Nirvana wasn't massive at the time, but in his mind he goes, well, fuck it, I'm going to write a song about this. And several songs. The song Lounge Act was probably the most associated with her. But yeah, these were all songs about a guy who got burned, who is still in love with this woman, but is pissed off at her. So to quote Steven Tyler, I'm going to write a song about it. I'll fix your ass. It just happened to blow up. But the lyrics were vague enough that people are looking into deep universal meanings of this, but the songs were all about a chick. And that burned Courtney Love.
I suppose, I guess Dave Grohl said that Cobain once told him that music comes first and lyrics come second.
Yeah, and that's exactly how he operated.
I guess that, yeah, I could see that. It's more melody driven than it is
Sure.
Actual words.
And Cobain, God, he wrote great music. But yeah, the lyrics, people spent fucking years examining his lyrics, and so much of it, there really was nothing to it. It wasn't until In Utero that the lyrics did really start to mean something. And that's where, talk about an album about a woman, so many of those lyrics were about Courtney Love. Heart-shaped box, Forever in Debt to Your Priceless Advice was both sarcastic and, touching in a way. He wrote a lot of that album, not only about her, but about heroin. I mean, the song Penny Royalty, I'm on whole milk and laxatives, cherry-flavored antacids, which I guess for my writing style I didn't like because it's so fucking specific, but that's all about heroin addiction. So much of that album just screams heroin. So that's when the lyrics started to mean something. But never mind, even by his own admission, he was just grabbing shit that rhymed, things that sounded good, and jumbling them in. and taking bits and pieces from people he knew. In Bloom was, I think, written about a friend of his named Jesse or whatever. Lithium definitely was, about the Christian fundamentalists that he had crashed with for a while. See, Pauly, he had written about a newspaper article about some young lady who was held captive by some guy. Let's see.
You know an awful lot about this. Like I said, I didn't start giving a shit about Nirvana until later.
And I very much...
I guess I didn't care enough, and I still don't.
Sure.
To know this information.
Well, it's...
But it's definitely fascinating. I didn't know a lot of this.
Well, and I dive deep into that rabbit hole, and I always have. It's a combination of, number one, being...
It really puts my perspective of Nevermind the record, right, differently now that I know it's about some chick. Half of it, at least.
Most of it is, and I guess the reason why I find that so easy to do is because, well, it's like I was telling a friend of mine... Actually, I was telling her this last night, I'd said, whereas you were out there living this, I was out there researching this, wishing I could live this. So, yeah, for as much as I was just this hick kid in a basement in Iowa, fucking wanting to be a rock star, I spent that whole time reading about these rock stars and just diving into anything I could find out about them. Typical fanboy stuff, but... my intent was to be a fanboy so that I could be that someday. But that's how I know so much about it, or I have read so much about it. But I'm a voracious reader. Fucking anytime I pick up a candy bar, I'll read the goddamn ingredients, Just I read. So that's how I know all these, what you might say, useless facts, really. But that's kind of the fun of it. But yeah, so... that gives me the frame of reference, and anything I'm passionate about, I'm going to want to know everything about. And at one time, I was incredibly passionate about Nirvana. I wanted to know everything about Kurt Cobain, and in some way wanted to find out, is he anything like me, or whatever it was. And you find out that, for my part, I'm going to gravitate towards the people that are somewhat like me. And Nirvana and Kurt Cobain, they were hicks in Washington State. People in Seattle looked down on them. As in, these guys are from Aberdeen. Where the hell is Aberdeen? And people laughed at Kurt Cobain. They couldn't believe that this guy was into Led Zeppelin and not in an ironic way. And it kind of turned against him in that once Nirvana went as big as they did, Cobain almost had to backtrack and apologize for all of it. In fact, he used to tell people that his first concert was Black Flag, which, no, it wasn't. His first concert was Sammy Hagar, with the band Quarter Flash opening for them, and he bought a t-shirt from that concert and wore it proudly to school for a year until he discovered Black Flag, and then he threw that in his dresser drawer and denied it.
Are you sure you didn't write the biography on Kurt Cobain?
No, I've just read a lot of them. No, these are the little tiny facts I remember, and I remember them because as soon as I read that his first concert was Sammy Hagar, I went, wait, I was raised on Sammy Hagar. I liked Sammy Hagar. Cool, I'm like him, That's the whole damn thing. That's how I can remember this shit. Just I'm always looking for how are they like me, in the hopes that when I'm a rock star, I can relate that. Well, that clearly did not happen, but I'm stuck with all this useless knowledge, so hence the podcast. All right, so where are we going now?
I don't know. It's really neat that you were so into this band, and I just listened to it just to be a listener, I guess. That's kind of a flip for us.
Well, and that's where, but you made something useful out of it in that you got into music and you learned how to play it. I got into music and I just studied everything around it except the actual music. You could fucking listen to a band that had a heroin addict and you'll learn how to play the first song. I'll listen to a band who had a heroin addict and go, oh, gee, I wonder what it feels like to be a heroin addict. I took the wrong route, really.
So this record had a lot of really good songs, I think.
Nevermind or Bleach?
Nevermind.
Sure.
Bleach had two good songs as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
I may have listened to it once. I don't give a shit about Bleach.
I have it on vinyl, and I'll play it once in a while if my stepson comes over and wants to hear about Nirvana. It's about the extent of it, really.
I have a friend who collected every single bootleg or every single song, anything ever recorded about Nirvana.
Right, okay.
Are you that guy?
No, and I never could be. And that's the other thing about like the fanboy nature of me is I couldn't dive that deep into it for the same reason that you can't dive that deep into being a Kiss collector. You're never going to get all of it. I can't devote myself that far into one band. And I'd say probably the only person I know of that can attempt to do that is actually my stepson's father, who's a Zeppelin fucking freak and will collect every goddamn thing he possibly can on that band. And I salute it. You know, that's why bands are around for fans like that. I just can't do it. I don't have that devotion because it's never gonna be enough. There's always gonna be that one scrap of paper that Steven Tyler jotted lyrics down on that ended up in a dumpster that somebody ended up with, and you're gonna wind up paying $100,000 for. It's a game that never ends. I can't get that devoted to it.
Sort of like Kurt Cobain's $6 million guitar.
Christ. Really? Okay, first of all, if you have that kind of fuck you money, I say fuck you, all right? Donate to a cancer charity or something.
But
second of all, what are you going to do with that guitar?
Well, so the guy that bought it is the founder of Rode Microphones.
And that's good for him.
But you bring up an interesting point. What are you going to do with that guitar? Me personally, I would play it.
Right. I know you would because...
Kind of like Kirk Hammett with
Sure.
with Greenie.
Yes, yeah. That's right.
He plays that fucking guitar all the time.
Well, and that's just it. And that's where my collector mentality really... I couldn't branch out that far because it's a game that never ends. I mean... I would... Bits and pieces of things I would collect, like when the Slash action figure came out. I bought it because it was just fucking awesome. And the first thing I did was I took it out of the packaging, which comic book guy will tell you, don't take it out of the packaging. So I had it sitting on my fucking mantle or whatever the hell. And then after a couple years, I wound up giving it to my stepson because, you know, he's a rock fan and all this. And he's like, dude, you really want me to have this? I'm like, what good is it doing me? It's sitting on my shelf collecting dust. It doesn't do anything. If you can find more joy out of this than I can, you can have it. These are things. I don't need things. I guess I like memories better, you know? I mean, I've got a copy of the Heroin Diaries autographed by Nikki Sixx. Okay, cool. I have this guy's signature and it's awesome. But the thing I get joy out of was getting to meet him and having him tell me nice when I told him I had been clean for a month. That's what I get out of it. Not a fucking scribbled line. Just the fact that this addict told me, hey, good job. Keep it up. I think life is experience. It's not fucking things.
Did you ever see that video of Nirvana playing in a Radio Shack?
Yes. Yes, I have. Was Jason Everman in that?
I wouldn't know.
Okay, the second guitarist with the mop of hair. I think he was. All right, so they were playing.
You would know more than me, but they played in a Radio Shack.
Yep.
Isn't that such a grunge thing? Now, was this before?
It was before.
Before Bleach and all that?
No, it was during Bleach.
During Bleach.
But yeah, that's the whole thing is the things that turned into grunge things became marketed. And that was the problem I had with the 90s, really was. Whereas what started off as let's get back to real became fucking just deliberate. Like if you watch the Smells Like Teen Spirit video, it was deliberately shot to be grainy and dirty and everything else, a direct opposite from the Talk Dirty to Me video. But then watch the Stone Temple Pilots video for Jesus Christ. The Stone Temple Pilots video for Plush. You've got them in this fucking setting that looks like the fucking set of the movie Carrie at prom with the sparkly stars and hanging, and Scott Weiland's doing the roll your eyes in the back of your head and look like you're insane while you're singing. That didn't Eddie Vedder do that 2 years prior? You're being deliberate, and that's the problem that I think people had with Stone Temple Pilots, really. Not that they were a bad band. They were a great band. I still love them. But that first album was so fucking deliberate. I mean...
I'm glad you landed on Scott Weiland.
Oh, okay.
Because...
I'll go there. Let's go.
I know you will. And you have.
Sure.
So, fun Josh fact.
No, Chad, I hate you. I fucking hate you.
Josh,
Go on.
Josh, this is his first time talking about music on the internet. And if I recall correctly, you and your ex-wife did some kind of...
Had to go there, didn't you?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll give the backstory to this. I know what you're talking about. I had moved to Austin, Texas with my now ex in 2007. Really thinking that, okay, Austin, Texas at that point was starting to become a hotbed for, well, I would learn later, alternative music, which was the wrong place for me. But I thought, okay, I'll go there and start over and see if I can't do this. And my ex, I'll give her credit. She was very much a follower of dreams. And she's still following her dreams. I salute her for it. If you're listening, I really do. But so I got there and found out immediately that Austin was the wrong town for me because I was listening to their local radio station and they were talking about San Antonio and very much decrying the black t-shirt wearing Ozzy Osbourne fans. And I'm listening to this going, that's kind of me. I think I might be in the wrong town. But anyway, so I tried my hand at the scene, and the only good thing I found there was the band Rockland Eagles. Other than that, they hated me there. They fucking hated me there. Could not get a band off the ground to save my ass, and maybe because I sucked, but just couldn't get a band happening. So my ex and I thought, well, we'll just start a YouTube channel where we'll just talk about bands and talk about albums and all this. It was a pet project, really, for me, but kind of for the both of us. And one of the rants I went on was, it was entitled Scott Weiland and Other Musical Screw-Ups. Now, this was about the time Scott Weiland was ousted from Velvet Revolver.
Hold on.
Sure.
Let me stop you there.
Yeah.
The reason why we're doing this is because I don't think you got a fair shake when you were doing your YouTube stuff.
You don't think so?
No, because of what you're talking about specifically.
Well,
because I remember watching it, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. But the people in the comments tore your ass apart.
Fucking shit did they go nuts. And the thing I found funny about the comments was half of them were, fuck you, you don't know, fuck you. And the other half were, your wife's got a nice rack. I'm like, I know she's got a nice rack. They're nice. Nicole, if you're listening, yours are nice.
Yes,
Kristen, if you're listening, they were great.
The scholars of the internet.
Yeah, half of the remarks were about fucking her endowments, and the other half were, fuck you, you suck, you don't know, you look like an 80s reject, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, the whole point of it is, I'm talking about him, he ain't talking about me, so why are you so pissed? But, yeah, that was the whole thing with Scott Weiland was, with all due respect to The Departed, and I understand addiction kills you, I get that, I've been there, literally I've been there, I understand, but Scott Weiland bothered me because he always just seemed ungrateful. Now, if you read his biography, and I've read it, Not Dead, Not for Sale, this was the guy that had the audacity to, when he was talking about Velvet Revolver trying to court him, which, of course, that didn't help because they were going after him. That placated his ego worse. He talked about the first time that he heard their demo. He said, well, and it sounded like Bad Company, and I hate Bad Company. My first thought reading that was, fuck you, all right, you fucking papa's dick. Bad Company is great, and if you don't like them, then you're just an asshole, okay? And then the second thing he said was, then the second batch of songs they wrote sounded like it was tailored for Stone Temple Pilots. It's like, okay, do you want me to choke on your dick now or later? But that was the whole thing. It was just such arrogance, and he was so ungrateful. When he's showing up fucking strung out, he's delaying their recording sessions and their recording contract because he's fucked up and gets arrested, and he's going to have the audacity to say, well, they were after me and they owe me. It's like, you know what? Scott Weiland is a talented vocalist. If I just listen to him, I love him. Now, if I pay attention to his lyrics, I don't like him. If I watch him, I fucking despise him. So that's the whole thing. It's just, fucking, you're a great singer. You are talented, but Jesus Christ, maybe be a bit more grateful for the fact that Guns N' Goddamn Roses was wanting you to sing for them. And instead of saying, like Corey Taylor, hey, I'm honored, Scott Weiland's going, yeah, it's an inconvenience, but I'll do it. You know what? Like I say, the guy's passed away, and he passed away from drug problems, and I get that, so may he rest in peace, and I got respect, but no, that's his legacy, is just what an ungrateful fucking brat he was. And he was from the beginning. He fucking refused to play Headbangers Ball because of a remark Gibby Hayes from the Butthole Surfers say, who don't the Stone Temple Pilots remind you of? Jesus Christ, you can't take the heat, get the fuck out of the kitchen, dude. Seriously. That's why I've never been a fan of Scott Weiland personally. Just, you're an ungrateful brat. And by the way, you were a goddamn jock before these three guys in Stone Temple Pilots wanted you to sing for them. Then all of a sudden you're rolling the eyes in the back of your head and singing like Eddie Vedder. Yes, you were singing like Eddie Vedder. We all know it. You were singing like Eddie Vedder. It wasn't until Purple that you found your own voice, and a great voice it was. But you know what? You can't be mad at people saying, oh, you sound like Pearl Jam when you were singing, yeah, where did you get that? Give me a break. Go on.
No, that was good.
I am sure I'm going to get reams of shit for that.
Fucking who cares?
But that's the whole goddamn thing. I don't like speaking ill of the dead. I don't. And I'm not going to say he wasn't talented. Scott Weiland was a fucking good singer. But you can't be mad when your first album you sounded like goddamn Eddie Vedder. You fucking did. Yeah, you did.
All right, let's go. Let's go back to Nirvana.
All right, please, God, let's go back.
Since you're the Uber fan here.
I'm not an Uber fan. I'm just a researcher.
Whatever.
I'm an anthropologist.
Hey, cool. Music anthropologist.
Fucking
We
right.
found your tag. I've always wanted one of those cool tags behind my name.
Yes, the guy who can't succeed, so he has to study everybody.
Joshua Lee Johnson, music anthropologist.
Fucking A, 40 the hard way.
So,
Go on, Mr. July.
do we bother talking about In Utero and
Yes, we
Incesticide, or do we just skip to the biggest record they ever made, Unplugged?
No. Let's All right, yeah, let's go over those albums. First of all, Incesticide. The most I'm going to say about that is I wore the fuck out of that disc when I was 16 because there was such an energy to it. I loved the covers they did. I loved that album. It's still a great album. I mean, granted, I gave it to my brother, but that's because I'd gotten everything out of it. I love that album. Now, In Utero,
I don't know if I've ever. I don't think I've listened to it.
I think
Incesticide. I don't
honestly,
know.
Chad, give it a listen once with the ears of somebody who's accepting it. Because if you had listened to that album at 19, you'd have fucking hated it. I think you could appreciate it now. Now, In Utero, first of all, Steve Albini, that heavy fucking production, Jesus, did that work. But I wore that album out as well. In fact, that was like my soundtrack when I was 15 just because this guy's angry. He's pissed off. I didn't understand the heroin end of it, but years later, oh man, did I ever. Great album.
Well, I know that Nevermind is probably their most popular.
I hate to say it, it's their best because it was just the peak of every great thing about them. But In Utero is my personal favorite.
I think I would go there too.
Sure.
I think it's lyrically better and musically better.
In Utero?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Even though Nevermind had more hits, I think. Or, as far as that, radio hits or whatever.
Right.
What's your favorite track?
On In Utero?
Yeah.
Ooh, God, that's a hard one to call. I'd say the track that hit me the hardest at first was Scentless Apprentice, but that's because of that opening drum beat. But my favorite, oddly enough, is probably Very Ape. I think Very Ape, for whatever reason, it's so simple, but I just love it. But God, it's hard to pick a favorite track. I mean, the song Milk It I thought was great because once again, Steve Albini and Dave Grohl, the drum sound, the drum production, fucking nailed me. But yeah, I just always loved Very Ape. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. And plus, Very Ape to me resonated because, I was fucking 16 in small town Iowa where the football players and the mechanics ruled the world, and a fucking 110-pound long-haired fucking guy like me was bullied constantly. I just thought, yeah, you people are fucking apes. And Cobain being on with the platform he did saying, I'm very ape and very nice. I just thought, brilliant sarcasm, and I wish I had the balls to say that to these fucking meatheads. That's why I loved Very Ape. honestly. But okay, now I'm going back. If I had a favorite song, it would probably be Frances Farmer Had Her Revenge on Seattle. That's a great song. So that's mine. I mean, do you have a favorite or one you gravitate to on that there, Chad?
Just like the hit songs.
Huh?
I like the hit songs.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with that, but you haven't dived a bit deeper?
Not really.
Okay, and that's cool.
I'm just like
that's cool.
I feel like I'm a casual listener. Like,
And that's fine.
like I'll listen to music at work on Pandora or whatever,
Sure,
and I can just throw on Nirvana and just kind of, hey, this is nice.
Dude, dive into In Utero. I think you'd find an appreciation for it more than I would.
So what's the deal with the Frances Farmer?
Oh,
What is
that song. Why is that the song?
Yeah.
Well,
No, I mean, well, yeah. Why is that your?
probably because Cobain's genius to me was unintentional. He knew how to create a mood with whatever chords he was using, whatever notes he was using. And I think probably the lyric that I resonated with in my quote-unquote depressed teenage years or whatever was a line that I still kind of go to now, having been through like I'm a fucking prisoner of war or whatever, self-inflicted been through, was the line, I miss the comfort in being sad. And there's something to be said for that, I guess, in my own personal experience of having gone through my junkie years, having gone through my alcoholic years, my lonely years or whatever. Familiarity is comfort, even if it's misery. And, The Dirt, you watch that.
Yeah.
And there's that one scene where it's towards the end of the movie where they're showing everybody in kind of the throes of where they're at. And they show Mick Mars sitting in his armchair with the Motley Crue artwork behind him. And he's watching the Looks That Kill video years later. And he's popping the pills and taking a drink. And just sitting in his chair looking miserable. But he's still watching videos of him from 1983. That's what that says to me. I miss the comfort in being sad. And I've had many a night where I'll be on my how manyth cocktail or just pulling from the bottle or rocking whatever buzz I just got into and listening to a song that I can't listen to sober, but in that fucked up state can take me back to a place that I was and I can never get back to again, but I can enjoy the memory in that state. And there's a comfort to it. I miss the comfort in being sad. And it can really fuck with your head in that you can have everything you've ever wanted. Not to get too deep here, but I'm gonna. To where you can be where I'm at, that I've got a wife I love more than goddamn anything. I've got a beautiful daughter who's just my sunshine, if you will. And you can still sort of not feel that it's right because you're not used to that level of happiness. You're not used to the fact that you have a house that you're living in, you have a good job, that you have every security you ever wanted, but you still feel off about it because you're so used to being on the edge of poverty. You're used to being on the edge of jail. You're used to being alone. You've been that way for so long that became a comfort. And when Cobain sings the line, like, I miss the comfort in being sad, that resonates. That's why that's my favorite song. I miss the comfort in being sad because that's how fucked you can get yourself if you've ever been an addict or been miserable. You know, you have everything you ever wanted, but you'll still go back to when you were in a certain way. But the thing is, that's coming from a heroin addict to where it wasn't heroin I was into, it was other things. But the buzz made me think I was happy when I really wasn't. But if you go back in time, you think, God, that felt good. That one line was Cobain's best line. I miss the comfort in being sad.
So I guess this song was about an actress.
Yep.
And she like...
It's electroshock therapy.
Yeah, she was arrested for drunk driving.
Yep.
And then like she went to Mexico and it violated her parole.
Mm-hmm.
And when she got back, they put her in a mental institution.
Right.
And went through shock treatment.
Yeah,
and
she got a raw deal.
and a lobotomy.
Yeah, she got a raw deal.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about Cobain is he would read about things like that, like Francis Farmer or Sentinel's Apprentice was based on a book called Perfume, which, you could call him a dumb guy or he wrote nonsense like I just went at great length to say, but no, he had great basis for, and In Utero to me was when you saw that, like the song Penny Royalty was all about heroin addiction, but he wrote it based on the myth that you could drink pennyroyal and it would abort a child. Or even Heart-Shaped Box, which was so steeped in Courtney Love. But there's one line, I wish I could eat your cancer when you turn black, was all about these kids who were dying of cancer.
You know so much about this band. I feel like I'm interviewing you when we talk about this because I don't. It's like, yeah, I listened to the songs and they were good.
Hey, you picked Nirvana, okay?
I picked Nirvana because I want to talk about Soaked in Bleach when we get to that point.
All right, so we went through In Utero.
Because I want to talk about the conspiracy.
Sure, and I'm all for that.
More than anything.
So let's wrap up Nirvana. Okay, so In Utero we did Nirvana Unplugged in New York. The most I'm going to say is Cobain was dope sick. But that's when you saw the musical genius of Nirvana in that they stripped everything down, turned the volume down, and the songs stood out.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree. I think that's my favorite. Unplugged is probably my favorite because you get a mix of everything.
I'm going to say my favorite song on Unplugged was fucking Jesus Doesn't Want Me for a Sunbeam. Just because it was a cover song, but it just sounded so, like, comfortingly sad. And that's why I love that song. Because I hear that song and I picture myself as like 8 years old in a small town. Like, I don't know, not being liked, but still being innocent. That's what that song makes me feel like. And that was the genius of Nirvana. And that particular album was all feelings. Their music made you feel something. So, Soaked in Bleach then. Where do you go?
Okay, let's just step right over that and get right into the good stuff.
All right, so Soaked in Bleach. You wanted this topic, so you fucking you introduce it, man. Lay it out.
Well, we both watched the documentary.
We both did. Sure.
Well, you watched it more recently than I have.
I did. I watched it with my stepson, who is getting into Nirvana, which makes me feel old as shit. They were around before he was even born, but
yeah, like it's a nostalgia act.
Oh God! But yes, so he is into all things Nirvana. So he very much, like you said, so much. So he comes to me, he's like, "Well, what can we watch?" I said, "Well, why don't you watch this documentary? I think you'll like it." And take it from there.
Well, so all right. I feel like I want to agree with the narrative of the documentary.
Right.
That he was murdered more than it was suicide.
Going back just a hair, did you ever watch Kurt and Courtney?
No.
El Duce from The Mentors was in that.
I don't think I did.
Oh.
I recall seeing it because I worked at a video store.
Right.
I recall seeing it on the shelf.
That's worth watching just to see El Duce drunk as fuck and being interviewed. Yeah, I said I'd kill him for a 40 ouncer. I'd kill him for free. Just give me a 40 ouncer. Yeah, El Duce. There's your reputable witness right there.
Yeah, so like the most intriguing part of Nirvana is when Kurt Cobain committed suicide, but did he?
And that's the whole thing about that movie. Whereas Kurt and Courtney was fucking just a filmmaker giving forth a narrative. Soaked in Bleach was based on the private investigator who Courtney Love had hired. And then, well, if you watch the movie, she probably wishes she would not have hired him. Now, what are your thoughts on this?
Like I said, it's been so long since I saw it.
Okay. Well,
but why did she hire that private investigator again?
Well, here's the thing. Very much had to do with a lot of it had to do with the fact that he had skipped town. He had left rehab and had gone back to Seattle. And I believe it was at that point that she had contacted him to try to find her husband. Now, where it starts to go haywire, according to this guy, is it seems to be one contradictory statement after another, and you kind of have to look at it from both ends of it. Now,
Do you think the statements were contradictory because she was all strung out?
Yes, and that's exactly where I was going. Now, so much of see, almost now, Courtney Love is not behind this movie at all, obviously. And if you watch the movie, you can see why, because they have recreations of Courtney Love looking all fucked up in a baby doll dress and all this shit. And I could see where, from Courtney's perspective, she's kind of pissed off about this. I mean, that would be like somebody doing a recreation of the strip club story you told, and it would be Steve Buscemi fucking with dyed black hair falling all over a table, picking a fight with a bouncer. I probably wouldn't be that happy about it either. But no, the movie, the documentary, if you will, does not paint a very good picture at all. But I guess my views on it are, I don't know Courtney Love. I've never met Courtney Love, so I can't say what Courtney Love is like or what her state of mind was. But he had these audio tapes that he used as the basis for his side of the story. Now, you mentioned being strung out, and Dylan Carlson, a friend of Kurt Cobain's, plays a very, very strong role in all of this. And about the only thing I gathered from that was, if you're watching this from the perspective of somebody who's never been addicted, you'll be mortified. But I watched this going, okay, so basically he's hanging around and playing along because, according to this guy's narrative, she's his supplier. And you're going to fucking play along with whatever you have to get your next fix, because
he's essentially getting his fix for free.
Or if not for free, then unobstructed.
Right.
And I mean, that's the whole goddamn thing. Is all I can say is just having.
That's kind of like that Tiger King documentary where that guy.
Please don't give him any more goddamn press.
That guy pretended to be gay for his meth. That's essentially what that boils down to.
Yeah, you tell me he wasn't on anything. You get property of Joe Exotic tattooed on your goddamn fucking groin. Okay, this is beyond meth, all right. There's something going on even if you want to deny it. Or, I wasn't on drugs. The fuck you weren't. But I don't want to give Joe Exotic any more press than he's already gotten. This is why I hate the pandemic. We all know who he is. And we're all the much more worse off for it. But no, as far as the soaked and bleached Dylan Carlson end of it and his attachment to Courtney, according to this, is, I hate to be the guy that you don't understand or blah, 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 but dude, when you are addicted, you'll fucking put up with shit you normally wouldn't just to get your fix. I've done it. I'm not saying I ever was privy to anything like this, but
do you think he was coerced into buying the shotgun?
No, I don't. I think okay, if we're gonna go along with the party line of he signed off for it and Cobain asked him to, I think seriously, when you're in that state, dude, I've been there. Think bad ideas don't seem so bad. Your buddy could say, "Hey, why don't you sign for this? It's not a big deal," and you're just gonna fuck it, all right. I mean, it sounds insane because it is, but that's kind of where your head is at. Bad ideas don't seem so bad. I mean, alcohol causes that. You throw heroin into that, or what my end of it was, Dilaudid, which is fucking hospital heroin. Bad ideas don't seem so bad. It numbs you to it. So, no, I don't think he was coerced. I think it was just, hey, do you mind? No, I don't mind. I don't think he had the fucking wherewithal to understand that this guy was going to put a fucking barrel in his mouth. And that's where the whole movie goes in, that you look at forensic evidence of there's no way he did this himself. You look at all of it. But the thing that got me wasn't so much Courtney's behavior. It wasn't so much Dylan Carlson. It was more the fact that the Seattle Police Department ruled it a suicide immediately. And that was it. There was no investigation. That's unheard of. You don't do that. That's what got me to thinking, maybe there's something else to this. Now, am I pointing the finger at Courtney? Absolutely not, because I don't know her. I don't know him. I don't know any of that. What gave me pause was that the Seattle Police Department ruled it a suicide immediately.
Wasn't it like a TV repair guy or cable guy that
Security, I believe.
looked in the window?
It was an electrician.
Electrician?
Yep, who was installing, I think, a security system of all things. Yeah, that was the big thing, and his exact lines were, "You're going to owe me some Pink Floyd tickets for this." Yeah, he called it into a fucking radio station and said, "You're going to owe me some Pink Floyd tickets for this." And then gave them the scoop, if you will.
Probably just after calling the police.
No, I think it might have been before calling the police.
Oh, scored some tickets before. Okay.
Yeah. They were on the Division Bell tour. Yeah, so you're going to owe me some Pink Floyd tickets for this. And yeah, if you watch the documentary, now also keep in mind that documentaries are viewed through the lens of whatever the director's agenda is. And the director's agenda was clearly Cobain was murdered. And furthermore...
So where's your stance on this? Suicide or murder?
My stance is half and half. I got to be honest with you, and I'll lay that out for you. Is I got to give the disclaimer of I didn't know Kurt Cobain. I sure as hell don't know Courtney Love, and I'm not going to say who did what because I don't get to. But after watching the forensics evidence, it does not appear to be a suicide. Now, this is where, Jesus Christ, sounds so fucking ridiculous. Understanding the mind of an addict. Now, before ever having delved into that, I couldn't understand how somebody who was famous, who had all this money, would want to kill themselves. But it was actually Phil Anselmo, who they'd asked him about Kurt Cobain. And even he said something to the effect of, he was a heroin addict, and you got to understand that. Now, once I delved into my personal hell with that type of thing, that's when I understood it, because at the time when I was at my lowest, I had a job. I had a home. I had a car. I had my health. I wasn't destitute. I wasn't on the street. I was taken care of. But Jesus, Chad, was I fucking depressed. I mean, not to sound like a drama queen, but there were a lot of times I contemplated just ending it all. Only because I couldn't see tomorrow. Now, why couldn't I see tomorrow? Just the drug fucking lied to me. You know, you spend your whole time as an addict in search of that buzz. Your whole life revolves around copying that buzz, getting that buzz. And then once you have that buzz, you don't even enjoy it because you're obsessed with how long is this going to last and when can I get my next one. You view every situation through the lens of where can I get high? How can I possibly exploit this to be able to put a needle in my arm? And that's just me, a welder in North Iowa. Cobain, it's all relative. Yeah, he had royalties coming in that would have taken care of him. He had a house. But in his fucking heroin addicted mind, he's probably thinking, my wife doesn't like me. I can't see my kid. I'm artistically deprived. And it becomes amplified to where, Jesus, I just want to end this. So I don't know what I think. I could see either one of them. The forensics say that he was offed. But the mindset of the junkie says he fucking did the deed. So I'm torn. I can't make a call, Chad. I really can't.
Do you think maybe it was assisted suicide?
Possibly. But
who do you think might have assisted him? Do you think Courtney assisted him?
I don't think she personally did. Absolutely not.
Or she knew about it?
Possibly. And that's where we get into the whole thing of...
Do you think in any way it could have been accidental?
Now, the thing that gets me is the people were always saying that the fucking dose of heroin that hit his fucking arm would have killed him anyway. And that's where I start to believe that there's possible murder. And I believe that not so much because the dose of heroin would have killed him. Now, Cobain at that time was banging massive amounts of heroin that he'd built a tolerance to. Like syringes full of black that should have killed people, that he got kicked out of his dealer's houses because they didn't want to risk the liability. But that's the whole thing is, for my part, having done shit like that, the only thing I can say about it that doesn't lead me to believe suicide is, this is a hard thing to admit, but I'll admit it. I would go through thoughts of, fuck, my life is over. There's no hope. I'm going to fucking off myself. I'm going to fucking write the note. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to take one last hit so that I can leave feeling good. But here's the thing, Chad. I would take that one last hit and I'd feel good and I wouldn't want to do the deed. The drug would talk me out of it. Because I felt good. Now all I could think is, fuck, I can carry on for another 4 hours. That's why I have such a hard time believing that he offed himself after shooting the heroin.
Right, 3 times the lethal amount.
Right, but that's the whole thing is lethal amount, you know. Fucking dude, there was one time I had a 100 milligram fentanyl patch on my back and banged 8 milligrams of Dilaudid, and that should have killed me, but it fucking didn't. Why? My tolerance was through the roof at that point, and so was Cobain's. A lot of heroin addicts only die when they've gone without for so long, and then they do their first hit. Now, if you're steadily doing it, obviously heroin overdoses happen because people misjudge purity and everything else.
Like Janis Joplin?
Like Janis Joplin, like Johnny Thunders. Oh, no, Johnny Thunders. God, was it heroin? No, Graham Parsons was definitely one, but...
Now, that's a weird celebrity death, isn't it?
Joshua Tree and the fucking... Yeah. I'll tell you what. You know, you've been having me carry this one. You carry this one for about 30 seconds, all right? I got to relieve myself. Have at her, cowboy.
Sure. I think I'll take the time to talk about some other stuff.
Please do. Yeah, we need news.
So, we need news. While on the Ultimate Sin Tour, Jakey Lee, guitar player for Ozzy, has said that Sharon practically dressed the guys in the band. Made them wear fancy, sparkly bullshit. Ozzy, most famously, had the padded gold shoulder pad thing going on. But she told the guys they couldn't dress like the opening band and referred to them as punters. So on this particular tour, it was Metallica that was opening for them, and that was on their Master of Puppets tour. And another thing I saw on the news was everybody rushed to the internet and log into their MySpace accounts because 50 million MySpace songs thought to have been deleted have been found. So everyone can rest easy on that one. That all those songs you were saving from the late 90s, early 2000s have finally been recovered. And everyone can listen to it. Remember MySpace, Josh?
Hell yes.
I was just saying that 50 million songs on MySpace have been recovered. They thought they were deleted.
Oh, shit. So does that mean Androda's catalog is on there?
That means everyone's catalog is on there.
Oh,
so,
boy. All right. Androda, for those that... nobody's going to know this, was me and Chad's first band together.
But I saved those 4 songs elsewhere.
I still say we need to build on those songs because they were good.
Tell you what, I'll link our SoundCloud.
All right, fair enough.
If anyone's curious to listen to them.
You know, I have no problem with that. No, we got to fucking start somewhere. And I don't know, that was like the start of all of it, really.
Also in the news, I covered on the Ultimate Sin Tour, Ozzy.
All right.
Sharon was telling those guys how to dress.
You're not allowed to look like Metallica.
Yeah, yes. Imagine that.
Yes, because God knows it. You know what stood the test of time was Jakey Lee doing the '80s spin,
right,
with the ruffled shirt. Nothing against Jakey Lee, but yeah, Jesus, Sharon. All right, Even Ozzy himself has said he looked like a 200-pound transvestite trucker during that period of time.
Oh, yeah, he had those gold shoulder pads.
But the goddamn thing is, Sharon knew what the hell was going to sell, when it was going to sell, and how it was going to sell. You can't really, well, you can fault it, but you can't deny it. All right, Beardo, what else you got?
I don't know. There's a lot of... I really should have watched this documentary before we got into this because I don't remember fuck all about it.
Well, you remember everything that's important, and I mean,
how about they didn't develop the crime scene photos until 20 years later?
No, they didn't, and that's the
how
whole.
Do you, like you said, how do you rule it a suicide and like not even look at your crime scene photos?
That's the big thing. Is the big question that really is raised amongst all the others is who influenced these decisions?
Right,
and that's where I think...
Okay, so Nirvana was pretty big, but were they that big?
At the time, fucking right.
Were they really, though?
Jesus
like for
Christ.
the police to be like, oh shit, we...
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, Chad, they really were.
Pink Floyd was on tour at the same time.
Yeah, but Pink Floyd had come and gone and everything else. They were an institution. Nirvana was still like, Jesus, who do you even compare them to? But no, it's just
so. All right,
go ahead.
So Courtney Love hired an investigator to find her missing husband, who was in their house.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't know he was there.
No, and you got to kind of look at this though too. There are several different factors in that. One of them being, Kurt was supposed to be in rehab, and I believe his last words to her were, "I want you to know I thought you made a really good record," which that's not. Those aren't the final words that you say to your wife, but I guess I could kind of see in a way how that would be. But now she was panicking because she couldn't get a hold of him, but also you have to put yourself in her state of mind in that she was clearly on something. And when you're on something, your mind starts going a lot of different places that it maybe shouldn't. Things become that much more intense. If you're dealing with heroin, they do. If you're dealing with cocaine, they really do. You know, it's just been established that she was on something.
Right. Like I said, it's been a while since I've seen this.
Sure.
What's the timeline like? Like, was he missing for a week?
I don't know
days?
if it was a week or not, and that's the worst part.
Hired this investigator, and then how long into that week or whatever the timeline was he already dead?
Well, and that's the whole other end of it too. Is this is a mystery that will never be solved because he had gone to the property, and I believe it was Dylan Carlson who was with him. And the whole big thing was his body was found in the fucking greenhouse. And according to the private investigator...
The greenhouse? The attic above the garage?
Right. Which was a greenhouse.
Was it? I guess
Yes.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, he was found in a greenhouse. And the private investigator has said he didn't see the greenhouse because it was raining and it was dark. And many people have corroborated that you probably wouldn't see this. I mean, there are so many fucking ins and outs to this that you don't know who to believe. And in my opinion, Courtney Love is the perfect villain for so many goddamn reasons. And I hate to be one of those leave Courtney alone people, but I think people hate her for the same reason that people have hated Hillary Clinton, for the same reason that my fucking father's family didn't get along with my mother. Nobody likes a woman with a strong opinion. And that's why I will go to the mat to this day for Courtney Love. Whether she's right or wrong, whether she's good or bad, nobody likes a loudmouth woman. Why? Because know your place. You know what? Fuck that. I think this will never be solved. This will never be viewed through a fucking clear lens because of the hatred of Courtney Love. Now, whether she deserves it or not, I don't know. I don't know the woman. I've never met her. But I think a lot of fucking armchair quarterbacks and a lot of pundits are saying, oh, we hate her because of blah, blah, blah. You know what? No. I don't think that's right at all. So as far as was this suicide? Was this a murder? Was Courtney behind it? I don't think Courtney's goddamn cold enough for that. Just speaking as someone who's a wife and a mother. Jesus Christ, she probably wanted to beat the hell out of him for how he was acting. But Jesus, to have him murdered, I think this is getting a bit too fanboy of Kurt was untouchable and Courtney was the bitch, so we have to blame someone.
Where do you think the line lies? Where do you think... Okay, so she didn't murder him.
I don't believe she murdered him.
Did he commit suicide? Because they're saying evidence was contradictory to that.
I
even
have such a hard time.
Even though
there's
there's a suicide note, which happens to be written in like 2 different colors of ink.
Yes, and that's where the movie goes into. They've conjured this whole thing, whether right or wrong, accurate or fiction, that she wrote it because she had his fucking notebooks so she could cop his writing style. I don't know. It just seems very opportunistic that I think the investigation does need to be opened up again. I think they ruled it a suicide too fast, but I think it's very convenient to pick the loud-mouthed bitch to point the finger to. I think that's way too convenient, and I also think put yourself in her place of having to have that on your head. I mean, that would be the equivalent of me having an argument with my wife and saying, Jesus Christ, she's out of her fucking mind. Then somehow she winds up dead. And then it's going to be, you fucking did it because you said she was out of her mind. Or you said she was dumb. Or you hated that she liked Jersey Shore. It's like, whoa. Hold the fuck on. You think I didn't lose somebody here? You think we don't have a child? I really think Courtney Love got the raw deal. I honestly do. Now, who would have been behind it? I don't know. And that's where it kind of ends for me in that I don't know. I didn't know Kurt. I don't know Courtney. Why am I forming an opinion on this? This is somebody's life that we're all kind of fucking with. I don't think we have a right to. That's my views on it. Or those are my views on it, rather. What do you think, Chadwick?
I still want to think there's some kind of conspiracy.
I believe there is.
I don't know.
But I think it's too easy to point to Courtney.
Sure. Okay. But then who? Who are we left with?
Well, that's the whole thing is, as massive as Nirvana was, as vulnerable as Kurt Cobain was, because when you're a junkie, you are vulnerable. And when you are a hick who suddenly becomes big, you're really vulnerable. It could have been anybody. But I also don't think it's fair to rule out suicide just because, like I said, Phil Anselmo got it. He was a heroin addict. And that shit fucking lies to you. And it lied to me. I mean, I debated on it many times. I'm not saying like, oh, feel bad for me. I wanted to kill myself. But no, it fucking lies to you. It will tell you that you've got a home and you got everything, but it's not enough. You just as well end it. That's where I could see how it could possibly be that he did it.
Right, but they're saying that the forensics contradict that.
Right, and that's
okay, so let's play with this.
Sure.
Do you think that maybe he had an accidental overdose? And then maybe somebody made it look like suicide, but what would be the motive for that?
All right, well, I'll tell you what, Chad, holy shit. Let's run with this. Accidental overdose. Somebody made it look like suicide. How do we know it wasn't a dealer that did it? The last one to fucking sell him his shit. Didn't want to be connected. So.
But where would they have known to get the shotgun from? Would that have been laying out, you think?
Well, how convenient that Dylan Carlson signed for a shotgun. Kurt Cobain had firearms. They all got taken from him. So he wanted to buy more. You look at the police records, the cops were constantly called on that house for firearms, and they were constantly confiscating firearms. You just created the best conspiracy theory ever. If we were filmmakers, we could fucking totally go with this. Because why wouldn't it have been a fucking dealer who sold him his fatal shot and didn't want to be fingered? So you have all the fucking factors in place. Dylan Carlson bought a gun. Courtney Love is hated as fuck. This guy's a heroin addict. Why not?
Exactly.
I think you are a fucking mad scientist. You're a goddamn genius. I think you just fucking nailed something else we could do. And that's what it boils down to. This is the fine reduction of all of it, in that nobody will ever know. And my opinion is, why are we continuing to destroy lives of people that are around? I mean, Courtney Love, I don't care what anybody thinks about her. You know what? I don't know her. You don't know her. We don't know her. Why are we fingering her? And not to mention Kurt's daughter. Jesus, can you imagine being her, having to hear all this shit about not only your father, but your mother?
Oh, growing up in that shadow would be rough.
Yes. I mean, it's bad enough that I know my dad was an alcoholic and my mom was overbearing, but it's not, I don't see my dad on the cover of People magazine, the heroin addiction that killed him. I don't see that. I mean, I hate to be that think of the children guy, but think of the children. Jesus. It's beyond unfair to really anybody involved. So the fact that we're talking about this, I guess I'm talking about it to say, you know what? Leave these fucking people alone.
I don't know. I think we need resolution.
No, we don't. You want to know
do.
why? We have the records for resolution. We have the music for resolution. Do I need to know who killed Kurt Cobain? No. I just need to know that he's gone. He left a body of work that was amazing. And you want to know what? I'll say this about his wife. Courtney Love is talented. And you're silent, but I'm still saying it. Hole made some great music.
I'm taking a deep breath.
Hole made some great music. And if I feel pity for her for anything at all, it's that she didn't have a fucking chance.
You ever hear that rumor that Kurt wrote her first record?
Yeah, and that's not fucking true at all. The only rumor I heard about her was that she bought the title Celebrity Skin from a band in L.A. as a big fuck you to them. Which, from the person that told me this, sounds like a Courtney thing to do. But at the same time, I don't know this. I just know what I was told. And that's the whole problem that I have with all of this. You know, when it comes to Kurt Cobain, Soaked in Bleach and all this, is like, we can pontificate about things we know, and we don't have the funding to fucking produce a movie about this. But we're still talking about people. I mean, really, Chad, imagine if fucking somebody produced a documentary about your life. Really, everything good and bad about it.
It'd be really short and really boring.
Yeah, but then imagine somebody produced a documentary about my life, which would probably be pretty exciting, but I'd still be sitting in my house in Clear Lake, hoping to God my kid didn't wake up while I was watching this and going, oh God, the 40 the hard way story, or oh Jesus Christ, in the back of a fucking alley or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's enough I've got to explain the shit that I do to my wife. It's enough I've got to explain in a vague way things that I've done to my kid. You know, if we're talking about fucking, imagine being Francis and reading Mom Murdered Dad. Holy shit. I mean, really, what does that feel like? That's why I don't form an opinion on this. I've watched this because, you know, it piqued my interest, but I don't know. I don't think it's really all that fair. And I don't think it's fair for us. I think it's okay for us to talk about it because once you're a public figure, you know what, you're open to it. But to draw a conclusion, I don't think that's our place, Chad.
Sure. I didn't draw a conclusion yet.
Right.
Other than I don't think it was suicide.
I don't either, but at the same time, I can't rule it out just because I know what a heroin addict thinks. That's just it. We'll never know. And you want to know what? Let's not know. Let's just fucking pop in utero, listen to fucking Very Ape, and just say, you know what? There was something behind this guy's voice, but god damn it, this is good stuff.
Where do you think it would have gone if he didn't die?
It wouldn't have. He was ready to be done with it.
You think so?
I do.
They wouldn't have done one more?
I don't. I think Kurt... I think Kurt, for his part, and I got to put myself in the same state that he was in, the small town guy who made big but still wanted to do different things, but was still confused about what he wanted. I think he probably would have made an album with Michael Stipe because that was the credible thing to do. And then, honestly, Chad, I think he was destined to die young. I think he probably would have been bored with everything beyond heroin, and it would have killed him. And I say that because this sounds melodramatic and this sounds legend building when it's not, but my wife and my kids saved me from that. Because before they came around, I was ready for it. And I wasn't even a rock star. I wasn't even famous. I just thought, well, fuck it. I'm 34. I've done everything I can do. There's nothing left. But put that on the magnitude of a platinum-selling artist alone in his house with nothing more than money and heroin. I really think he was destined to go. And as sad as that is, he also left a body of work that we're still talking about. That's what I think would have happened. I don't think he would have gotten old. I don't think he would have aged gracefully. I think he, at some point, would have let it take him. That's what I think. What do you think?
I don't know. Maybe he could. Maybe he could have kicked his heroin addiction. Maybe.
With the money they had, I don't think he would have.
You don't think so? You think it's just endless?
Honestly, Chad, do
you think it's because Courtney was down in that hole also? Do you think that the people the closest to him were down in that hole?
Well, yes and no. The main reason is because addiction, especially an addiction of that sort, is pure selfishness. And I suppose I could say that if it hadn't have been for my wife and my daughter, if I had had the unlimited funds that Kurt had and a connection that wouldn't have been arrested, an illness connection, Chad, I'd have kept going until I was dead.
It's a very dark and depressing portion of this podcast.
But it's the truth. I mean, I hate that it's the truth, but it's the fucking truth because
this is a very Nirvana podcast.
But that's the whole damn thing is when it comes to that type of buzz, that type of lifestyle, all of it, fucking nothing can compare to that 5 seconds you feel when that spike hits your vein and it hits your brain.
So, all right, you keep saying that your wife and kid pulled you from it. Why didn't it do it for Kurt?
Because it was also where I lucked out in that about the time my wife and my kid came into my world, my connection also got arrested. The supply was cut off. But I also did not have a source of income I didn't have to go to work for. Cobain had the checks coming in. I didn't. I had to go to work for my checks.
So you know that that one song that was released? Mm-hmm. You know you're right or whatever.
Yep. Yeah.
Let's just say that they did have a record. What do you, based on what that one song sounds like, what do you think it'd be like?
I don't think it would have been as big because the song was so Nirvana. It was the fine reduction of Nirvana, the quiet yelling, the depressive lyrics, the kind of sarcastic lyrics, all of it. Jesus. This is going to sound like piss on somebody's legacy. I think people would have been tired of Nirvana by that point.
When do you think? When was that? What year would that have landed?
It would have landed, I'm going to say 96.
96.
And I think by that point, even people were tired of Nirvana.
Tired of grunge and Nirvana?
Yep. I don't think it would have been as big as it would have. I think probably that would have killed Kurt more than anything. Because it wouldn't have been, oh, great, it's the next big thing. It would have been, yeah, we've heard this and this is fine and we're kind of bored of this. That, honestly, that's what I think. I think the music public is a very fickle fucking group of people.
I think you're right. I think you're right about that. Because if it did come out in around 96, it would be like, hey, haven't we heard this before?
Yep.
And I think that the allure of that song is that it came out 20 years later.
That's exactly right. I mean, I listened to the song and
I think it's a great Nirvana song.
I think it's a good Nirvana song.
You know, it is exactly what it is. It's a Nirvana song. It
Yep,
has every trademark that makes them good.
Yeah, and I think by that point,
I do. It sounds too polished.
I don't know about
It doesn't
polished.
sound. It doesn't sound raw enough.
I don't want to say contrived. I'm not going to say contrived. How do you contrive yourself? But I think it was so perfectly Nirvana that when it came out when it did, it's like, all right, the great fucking gold nugget, the great fucking lost gem. But I think if it would have came out 2 years later, it would have been like Poison coming out with Unskinny Bob. It was what you expected, but you're not going to go nuts over it because it's like, okay, this is what I want, but I'm not going to fucking lose my mind.
Do you think there's more stuff in a vault?
No.
You don't think there is? Because doesn't Courtney Love kind of rule that with an iron fist?
Her whole thing was, I have the fucking buttload of Nirvana, blah, blah, blah. No, I had their box set with the lights out that had all the fragments of everything. I think there are bits and pieces, but I don't think there's the one great long-lost fucking Kurt Cobain Stairway to Heaven Holy Grail. I don't think there's that.
There's not the lost song.
No,
I don't. Like Robert Johnson. There's no
No.
30th song.
No, I don't think there is. I don't think there is because, well, for one thing, yeah, Cobain was recording ideas, and there were ideas. But at the same time, I don't think there was enough forethought or afterthought to have, I'm going to hold this back, or this might be good or something. I don't think so. I really don't. I think the best of Nirvana we've heard, and I think I Know You're Right was proof of that, because when I heard it, I just thought, yeah, this is a perfect Nirvana song, but it didn't shake the earth like it was supposed to. I'm not saying Cobain was out of ideas. I'm not saying he artistically couldn't have created something brilliant.
I'm trying to figure out which record that would have fit on.
It would have fit on In Utero.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Just hard right on that record, not an in-between or anything.
I think it would have fit on that because...
Does anyone know? Is that out there? Does anyone know where it was cut from?
Shit, I don't remember.
I don't
It was
remember.
one of their last sessions, though.
I don't remember hearing that either. Like, hey, this was pulled off this record.
No, but I think it would have hit In Utero because it wasn't as bright, wasn't as poppy, wasn't as youthfully exuberant as Nevermind. But it had the same sort of... It would have made a great track 13 on In Utero because it was very tired. It was that song, they all sounded so fucking tired. Not that they'd given up, not that they'd run out of ideas, but they were tired. They were fucking tired. And that's why I think that song could have gone on In Utero.
Okay, so this I Googled it quick.
Sure.
And it says it was recorded in January 30th, 1994.
Yep.
So where would that put us?
After In Utero.
After.
Yeah, because In Utero, I believe, was 93. So yeah, it was right after that. It was probably around the same time they did that Seasons in the Sun fucking jam session. But yeah, I don't necessarily think Cobain would have run out of ideas or anything like that, but my honest belief is that after the blow up of Nevermind and the superstardom and everything else, I think he'd have been a casualty anyway, just because I know I would have been. And like I said, not to sound like Lane Staley, you can't understand a user's mind or whatever, but it's a horrible headspace to be in. I'm glad I'm not in it anymore, but I've been there. And it's so pathetic, but your life can revolve around your buzz, copying your buzz, where you can do your buzz, how you can do things on your buzz.
Do you think Nirvana as a band burned too bright too fast?
Yeah, I do. I do. I think there was no way.
Do you think maybe if they would have slowed down a little bit, they would have lasted longer?
No.
You still think it would have just been a tragic story?
I don't know about a tragic story, but at the same time, you got to look at how fickle the music business is, and how Okay, go from the
What?
six.
So what came after? I have a hard time. What? So let's talk about like 1996. That seems like that was a transition year for music, kind of.
Well, I guess I look at it this way.
When did you think grunge burned out?
I don't know about grunge. I prefer to think of the term alternative.
Sure.
But when did it burn out? I think about the time, and I'm going to choose a very easy device that's probably humorous, but it's serious if you think about it. About the time band names got weirder. All right, so Toad the fucking Wet Sprocket makes no sense. Dishwalla makes no sense. Fucking about the time band names started getting really strange.
You think Blind Melon fits in there?
Half and half. Yeah, I'm sorry. I hate to fucking even throw shade on the memory of Shannon Hoon, but yes, Blind Melon. What the fuck does that mean? Dishwalla. What the hell does that mean? Toad the Wet goddamn fucking Sprocket. Even Stone Temple Pilots. About the time band names got weird. That would be the first time where people were saying, oh, this must be cool because I can't make sense of this name. And then you got sick of it right away. Fucking, that's when I think it started to burn itself out. Like I said, not in a grunge sense, but in an alternative sense. I mean, Stone Temple Pilots, what the fuck does that mean? I still don't know what the fuck that means.
We could probably Google it, but
no, Stone Temple
but
Pilots.
I'm not gonna.
No, Stone Temple Pilots happened because Scott Weiland used to wear a shirt that said STP on it, like the oil company.
Yeah.
And they used to be called Shirley Temple's Pussy.
They probably should have just stuck with that one.
No, they shouldn't have.
Oh, absolutely.
No, they should not have. You have a daughter, and so do I. No, they should not.
Well, she would have been old at that point.
But she.
It'd be like saying.
But you're referencing Shirley Temple, the child star.
No.
And I don't want to think about her pussy.
It'd be like Betty White's Snatch.
Fucking, I could fucking dial into Betty White's Snatch. I would fucking eat Betty White's Snatch. Jesus Christ, am I going to get divorced for that one? But, nevertheless, no, there's a difference between Betty White's Snatch and Shirley Temple's pussy.
That's our new grunge band.
Fine.
Betty White's Snatch.
Think about what is going to get you put in jail first. Betty White's Snatch? Okay, he's sick, he's a pervert, but he's at least legal. Or Shirley Temple's pussy. There's no churching that up. None.
Context is everything, Josh.
Yes, context is everything. What do you think of when you think of Shirley Temple? And it ain't a fucking 4-year-old broad.
Honestly, whenever I hear Shirley Temple, I think of the non-alcoholic drink.
Yes, which is geared towards children who can't drink alcohol.
Don't turn this around into something
There's no
weird.
turning this around. That's why it's called the Shirley Temple.
Look, Betty White's Snatch. We're just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, and I bet it's fucking terrific. But no, why would you call a virgin cocktail a Shirley Temple?
Fuck, I don't know.
Because it's an underage fucking child. Yeah.
I thought it was because it used cherry.
Yeah, cherry.
We're not talking about that, like the actual color of the cherry syrup.
Yeah, cherry. You keep saying cherry.
Fuck, because I can't remember. It's called grenadine.
Grenadine, which is based off cherries, and cherry is a term for a hymen, which only underage people tend to have.
It's red. Like red hair.
Shirley Temple did not have red hair.
No?
No, she was blonde.
What the fuck do I know? That shit was in black and white.
But did you see dark shade in her hair in the black and white?
I don't.
No, she had hair like my daughter.
I don't know. Anyway.
Yes, blonde.
Okay. Betty White's Snatch is way better.
Yeah, fucking right. I don't care, 90 years old or not, I'd be there. And I'm going to get divorced for this, and I don't care.
You're not. Anyway.
No, I should say, Joshua, stop it.
Boy, we really went off the rails on this one.
How far are we into this goddamn thing anyway?
Too far.
Like hour and a half?
Yeah. We're gonna keep going.
All right, I'm game.
I don't know.
Cowboy.
We probably shouldn't. We're gonna be in trouble. No one will listen to this bullshit.
No, everybody will listen to it, and it's just... Put it this way, I'm less worried about hate mail from Slipknot fans than I am from fucking Stone Temple Pilot fans. What's the
Because
worst?
those are the only fans that ever tried to tear your asshole apart.
Yeah, oh, God damn were they pissed. And very much enraptured by my ex-wife's rack. Which, fine.
Do you think your reviews are still out there in internet land?
No, I had told fucking Exie, which is what I call her. I told Exie, as soon as we're fucking divorced, take all that shit down. You don't want this, neither do I. And she did.
Yeah.
What, you think she wants to be spotted with her ex-husband talking shit about people she doesn't care about?
Was it really talking shit, though?
Yes, it was.
Oh.
I believe my exact quote was, Scott Weiland's a screw-up. That's kind of talking shit.
But it's kind of true. Anyway.
Well, it is true, but
Look, I don't need rabid Scott Weiland fans up my ass.
I don't really care either, but at the same time, it's like, well, like I said, the tagline for this podcast is going to be, we're talking about them. They're not talking about us.
That's very true.
It is. So why would anybody get it up in arms about what these two fucking idiots from Iowa are saying?
Well, we are from Iowa.
Yes.
Idiots out wandering around.
Right.
Ugh.
Well, it's like J-Rock said, it could happen to you because it happened to me.
Fuck yeah. You have to respect that because he was like, "Yep, I got caught jerking it." And I'm just gonna own it.
It could happen.
And he owned it. So it's fine.
It could happen to you because it happened to me. J-Rock, y'all. Why is that the one goddamn musical moment from that fucking show that I latch on to more than anything?
It's so absurd.
Oh, Jesus.
Look at us. We're off the rails.
On a crazy train. Did you see Seth Meyers talking about that last
Nope.
week?
Fill me in.
Yeah, poor guy. Fucking. Of course, he's bad-mouthing Trump, which, of course, everybody should. But he tried to imitate Ozzy by saying, people shouldn't wait in line for unemployment the way people are waiting in line for the bathroom at Ozfest. And as Ozzy would say, going off the rails on a crazy train. Yes. He goes, yes, like he nailed that vocal line. Which, no, he didn't, but it just was hilarious.
Nailed it.
Yes! Or as Bubbles would say, yes, decent. This is what pandemic does to people. Fucking. We finally binged the whole goddamn series of Trailer Park Boys. We've blown through 2 out of 3 of the movies. Why is this a thing?
I don't know.
I don't know either, but I'm really sympathetic to them now. I don't want to be, but I am. All right, so
Let's try to wrap this up somehow.
All right, so we're wrapping up. So we were talking about Nirvana soaked in bleach, conspiracies.
Look, I don't know. I'm going to stick to somebody killed him. Maybe not Courtney Love, but somebody.
And I guess the only way I can really...
I like the dope dealer angle. We should just stick to that one. This fucking dope dealer
I like it, Chad.
probably gave him some tainted China white or black tar or whatever the fuck it was his
Pure
flavor.
China white.
Either way, whatever. I bet you it was cut with fucking Imodium.
Jeez. Did you know, fun fact, that the song Breed was...
I did know
originally-
that.
Yeah, okay, good.
I was trying to bring it full circle there.
Good, all right. And you're not a fan. You don't know things.
I know a little about a lot of stuff.
But, all right, so I guess my final thoughts on this particular podcast was Nirvana needed to happen. Nirvana wrote great songs for the same reason the 80s bands did. They were influenced by the same bands. They just took a different fucking approach to it. And it wasn't aesthetic. And that was great. I understand Cobain's state of mind because I've been there. And if you haven't been there, fucking don't be there because it's horrible. My final thoughts, I guess, on Courtney Love are I can't say anything about her other than I'll fucking admit it. You'd bang her, and so would I. Of course I would. Yeah, you would, Chad. Don't lie. Yeah, you would. And that's the most I'm gonna say about her. But beyond that superficial fucking bullshit, she's talented, and fucking let her have her goddamn career, and understand the fact that she has a daughter who has to live with all of this, and that means she has to live with all of this. And I wouldn't want to be in her shoes, but at the end of the day, nobody knows what happened. Nobody is going to know what happened. Nobody gets to know what happened. But in the end, let's just fucking enjoy the music. That's all I want anybody to do.
What a great sentiment. Enjoy the music.
Exactly. That's all you have to do. Fuck the conspiracy theories. Fuck your fucking sexist, fucking small-dicked hatred for her. Fuck all of that. Enjoy the goddamned music. Till then, this is Joshua Lee for the Hardaway Spin on the magazine. I'm sorry I did it, Johnson.
Chadwick on Tippitt.
For one more
Last time.
Asta.